Welcome to the 14th International Documentary and Short Film Festival of Kerala, organized by the Kerala State Chalachitra Academy. Now we begin the session. See Ajoy in conversation with Reena Mohan. I invite C. Ajoy, Secretary and Executive Director, IDSFFK, and Reena Mohan, Lifetime Achievement Award winner of 14th IDSFFK and documentary filmmaker and editor, onto the stage to begin the session.
Dear friends, welcome to the In Conversation, the wonderful moment, the most wonderful moment of this 14th IDSFK has happened yesterday before our eyes. It was when the Honorable Chief Minister of Kerala, Sri Pinarayi Vijayan, handed over the highest honor, a Lifetime Achievement Award to Srimati Reena Mohan, well-known documentary filmmaker, editor, and curator. She has an illustrious career behind her, spanning 4 decades. Started her career as an alumna of FTI Pune, and since then chosen the track of documentary filmmaking. Reena Mohan, welcome to the In Conversation. To begin with, I just said that you have started your career from a film institute. And those years, maybe in the 70s, if at all girls get opportunity to pursue higher studies, they usually chose a career which can fetch a job for them, a safe zone. But you have preferred a very uh, unusual, unconventional of those times, we can say, a professional course at a premier institute, Film Institute of India. How this happened?
Well, it's a long story. I don't think it was a choice to not have a job versus having a job, really. It was, what am I going to do after I graduate? And in my family, been a lot of emphasis on women being independent and women having a profession, not necessarily job, but a profession, something you're interested in, something you want to pursue. And we were made to, we were brought up to think that we would always be financially independent and have a profession of our choice. So my elder sister did her MBA, my middle sister did banking, and I was very interested in literature. That was my subject in college, in my BA, and I assumed I would just pursue that and be a lecturer. But towards in the third year, a lot of my batchmates were under pressure to get married, and they were uh, being made to meet boys. And I was very disenchanted. I was very disillusioned. And I just said, if this is why girls are doing their graduation, then I don't want to teach. I don't want to teach girls who are just picking up a BA to improve their matrimonial prospects. So um, I wanted to just opt out. And the other career for somebody interested in language, let's say, was journalism. It was a big thing at that time. But I didn't want to do journalism. I'm not sure why. And then a friend saw this ad for the FTI, for the entrance exam. And she said, maybe you'll be interested in it. Because I was very clear I wanted to do something different. What that would be, I didn't know. And I hadn't watched that much cinema. I mean, not at all like, how it is in Kerala, for instance, where I see so many young people, they're college students, they're attending a festival, they're, in and out of the different theaters and so on. And so I applied and I got in. and it was all new. It was fascinating. Sometimes I did wonder if I made the right choice. But yeah, after my graduation from FTI, I think there was no doubt. I was really quite committed to cinema.
What was your experience inside the campus? It was heard that people used to tell you uh, uh, by admitting girls, a chance of a boy is lost, or afterwards you will marry someone and leave editing and all. So these type of comments, that happened during
Yeah,
your
that's
study.
that's very typical. I think that happens even now. A lot of the girls on campus keep talking about how they're bullied and harassed. So I think, and I think the industries know better. It's very representative of what you're going to face outside. It is really a boys' club in the institute and outside. And I think, you just have to develop, and you have to be tough about it. You do forge friendships with boys. It's not as that they're all not wanting you around, but you do learn to, you get tougher, and you learn to sometimes answer back, or you just quietly get on with your work. Whatever you figure out your strategies to deal with that kind of discrimination. Yeah, but it's still ongoing. I mean, women are not paid as much as men, etc., etc. I mean, it's just there. The industry is rampant with discrimination. So
And coming to the films, uh, Kamala Bhai got a national recognition, and the making, the style, the structure, the narrative. People call it very different, and I have observed that while watching the film. You stand loyal to the protagonist, making her speaking out herself, and able to get the rebel out of her at one hand, and the other side uh, expressing the pain, the loneliness of the person. How did you succeeded in portraying in that way?
okay, so that film took a while to make because I couldn't get funding for it. So I spent about 3 years filming with her. Uh, Firstly, she herself was very relaxed before the camera because she's been a theatre actress and a film actress. So I didn't have to draw her out, but I really had to understand what it was, uh, how I was to make the film. Actually, that is what took time, not getting her to open up or anything. And in fact, she lived alone. She wasn't well known as an actress, so it's not like there were droves of people going to her flat to talk to her or meet her. So when she met a film crew and we were just there around her and lapping up everything she said, she loved it. She loved it. She was performing for us and she was thoroughly enjoying herself. But it took me some time to realize that I was not making a film about her. This was a film made with her, So um, previously, the films have been where the filmmaker is sort of invisible. You're at a distance, there's a commentary, you talk about your subject, and so on. And when we started interviewing her, I still remember the first day very clearly. She was dressed in her blouse and petticoat, which you see her in the film. And I said, what is this? You're not ready for the shooting. We're here to shoot with you. Comb your hair, make a ponytail, wear a sari. And she said, I don't like saris. They're too heavy. And I'm like, no, we're making this film. And so she dressed up and she was cooperative because she is an actress and she was sort of, I was much younger than her. And I have to hand it to her that she agreed to what I was saying. Uh, so she wore a sari, she combed her hair, ribbon, ponytail, blah, blah, blah. And then I said, well, we won't shoot you on the bed. We'll do an interview with you. We pulled out 2 chairs, made her sit something. And then the questions were very stop and start. You know, the Rekha Sabnis, who was interviewing her, would ask a question, and Kamlabai would answer, and then Rekha would ask a question, she would answer. So we finished that sequence, and then I said, "Why aren't you just talking, naturally?" And she said, "How can I be relaxed and spontaneous when you have destroyed everything? You've destroyed the spontaneity. You make me dress up, you make me comb my hair, and then you want me to talk freely, naturally." Which really got me thinking. Anyway, we were shooting on 16 mm. It was celluloid, it was expensive, I was doing it with my own money. So every time she would freak out and joke with us, we would switch off the camera and we'd joke a bit with her, and then I would switch on the camera when there was a question and she would have an answer. Then after 2 years of filming, we did a rough cut and I showed it to some friends, and they said, "This is so dead, this is like not at all like how you describe her, and this is just so dead and boring." And that again set me thinking about what I was including when I was filming and what I was not including. And what I was not including was really the film. It was her spirit, her energy, her humor, her everything that I was excluding actually in the filming. So we did a third schedule, which was my longest schedule. It was about a week or 10 days. And then we filmed everything, everything. When she was laughing, chatting, joking, pulling our leg, whatever. And yeah, I think it took me a long time to discover. Um, but I wasn't helping her relax. In fact, she was teaching me what the film could be and should be, and what had attracted me to her in the first place. And it took me time to understand that.
Oh, it's a glorious example of changing the course of a filmmaking. For a feature film, you have a storyline where you can move around, but for a documentary filming, how easy is it, or how difficult is it in making? Like you don't may have a script, or you leave the script away, or you don't use a script at all and take a real time shots, which is coming at the moment. So how easy is it? How difficult is
It's
it?
not easy at all. It's not easy at all. And but that's the fun part, because I think through the process of filmmaking, you're discovering people, you're discovering experiences, you're learning a lot about yourself. So, um, and I think the most challenging part is the editing, which is what I really, really enjoy. And because filming is one thing, but editing is, because there's usually no scripts in the films that I've worked on. There are no scripts, and the film evolves, the structure evolves on the editing table. So yeah, I mean, there was another film I did which was on an express highway, which was screened yesterday, and it's about a Jain sadhvi, and the first 6 months of her renunciation. And it's the same thing. I heard about her renunciation. I was fascinated that someone so young, so rich, should choose to give it up and be a sadhvi. And I wanted to make a film. And so I proposed the idea to PSBT. I got the funding, but when I went to Ahmedabad to meet her, and I spent some time chatting with her, but I was told I couldn't film with her. I was not to shoot, and I could not record her voice because she joined a particularly orthodox sect, and for them, using batteries or any of this kind of equipment meant that I was killing jeev, which is life organism. So I was not to employ any of my apparatus, and yeah, and I couldn't film with her, and I was like, how am I going to make the film? So yeah, so the film then became, I mean, I did shoot some stuff with her mother, grandfather, etc. And at some point they did give me permission to take photographs. But again, the film happened on the editing table. First, it was really about Jignya, But then I realized that the whole process of putting it together was also revealing things to me, and I wanted to incorporate that in the structure. So, yeah, the film shifted, the film changed, and I mean, I love that. That's what I really enjoy about documentaries.
While watching Skin Deep, I still remember a very beautiful scene, that early morning breakfast scene, where the brother of that women bodybuilder, he's saying, "I am okay with her pursuing a career in bodybuilding and all that, but I don't like my
Girlfriend to be the
girlfriend
same.
to
Yeah.
be the same."
Yeah.
And the younger sister is also saying, "I am okay with that, but I don't want to be like her." And the mother standing there serving the idli and all, she's saying, um, after all, women are there, girls are there to get married. Yeah? And that perception of the society, attitude of the society is being portrayed in a very fine-tuned scene actually. Very easy for people to understand what a filmmaker is thinking, and whether it was a planned or it was unplanned show.
No, it was not planned, or it was planned, but it didn't. When I met them for the first time, when I went to meet the family, this happened. They were the mother was making idlis, she was serving idlis. We were all at the dining table and we were chatting. The brother wasn't there. The mother had spoken, the sister had spoken, and we were just chatting. But one of the things in documentary situations that I like to do is to have people doing something rather than just sit face the camera and talk. I like to give them an action, or wait for them to be doing something and then start a conversation, because then they're easier. You know, some of their self consciousness is gone because they're also, making idlis, serving idlis to the family. So the mother was facing the camera for the first time, and it was, but I loved that, that intimacy of the kitchen rather than just interview the mother and then the sister, and it just brought everyone together. Sunila, who's the bodybuilder, is right in the middle of it. And the day we were filming, the brother joined us because I think chutti thi, whatever, something, he was free. He joined us. So that was a bonus, absolutely. I wasn't prepared for him to be there. I didn't know what he was going to say. I hadn't spoken to him. And so, yeah, the situation developed. But it is a bit of a strategy to give people an activity, an action to do, so that they're also a little distracted, preoccupied, feeling natural, comfortable in front of the camera.
Predominantly an editor, and then an editor transformed into a filmmaker. With this help for an editor to change into a filmmaker's role, or both are very complementary job also. And what is your experience?
So I never wanted to be a filmmaker. I stumbled into it. We met Kamlabai. I went with some friends, and I was researching for a book on silent cinema. I wanted to write a book because I felt that was a whole period of Indian film history which is very rich, but not explored enough. And yeah, so I was meeting Kamlabai for an interview, but when we met her, when we went to her house, we were utterly charmed. We played cards with her, and she was cheating, and she was laughing, and she was so vivacious. So this friend, we were in the train heading back to Bombay. She said, "You have to make a film. You can't, an interview won't do justice to her." And I said, "I'm not a filmmaker. I'm not making a film." And so it went on between us for a bit. And then I decided she had a point and maybe I should make the film. She said she's old. By the time you do your book, she may not be around. Make the film, do some interviews, do something, whatever. And yeah, and then I still, even after I finished Kamlabai, I didn't think I was a filmmaker. I was happy. I love editing, like I said. I was happy to go back to editing. But I got the funds to make another film. I got a producer who said, you know, make whatever you want. And that's how Skin Deep happened. So, and then I think, yeah, I just sort of enjoyed it. It didn't seem like there wasn't a conflict. Should I be this or that? I could be both. And I think as an editor, it's a great advantage when you're directing because, um, when people are talking, you're kind of processing it in your head and you say, okay, they've said this. I mean, even if the cameraman says, I'm not really happy, but the feeling and the way in which something has, happened, you just say, yeah, it's okay. I've got my sequence. So I think, um, yeah, it wasn't so daunting to be a director, if you know what I mean. It's, I think the two went hand in hand, and I practiced both. So, yeah.
You enjoy being a filmmaker by accident.
Yeah.
But enjoy. Coming back, you are referring to the funding opportunities. Uh, in documentaries and short films, there are a lot of youngsters coming up. You can see you have already mentioned about youngsters getting into the profession, making films, and so funding still remain a major issue for aspiring filmmakers to come out and make good projects. What is your take on this?
My take is we need help. Yes, we need the governments at various levels, central, state. I mean, it's fantastic that the IDSFFK organizes this festival. I think it's amazing how it's lent. Um, it's helped a lot of young people, between the first time I came 14 years ago and now. There's such a so many films that have come up, but I believe almost all the films being made in Kerala are self-financed, the short fiction and the documentary. And I think it would be very, very, I think it would give a great boost to youngsters to see it as something that they can pursue seriously as a career rather than, struggle so much and make a film with their own money. If there were grants, if there was funding, it would be fantastic. I really think the government should consider it. Yeah.
Uh, while we discuss about this aspect of the intervention of government in helping people, the new development that is happening at the center, merging of the institutions into the NFDC, and of course, sort of corporatization, government departments abdicating from their responsibilities, and then there is a corporate body coming up. And what is your observation?
I think there's complete confusion now. There's complete confusion because you cannot merge the censor board with the archives, with the films division. They all have different functions, they have different roles to play. And now nobody knows who's in charge, nobody knows who's doing anything. I mean, it's absurd. It's completely absurd.
And when it comes to censorship, also, like the issue is being widely discussed in public now, uh, like uh, the new changes in the new IT rules and government government intervention, more invasive and into the content of, mainly there are OTT platforms are coming up, and social media also there are a lot of opportunities there. At this moment, when this censorship issue, uh, how can you make an observation in this?
I don't think this is the time for observation. I think it's the time to resist. Yeah. All of us filmmakers have to resist this kind of censorship.
That regarding OTT platforms,
I'm not into OTT.
what is your opinion actually?
I have no opinions. I mean, I'm not making films for them, and none of my films have been bought by OTT platforms, so I'm not aware of that very much. Yeah, I mean, I just read a little bit.
Whether you are against such platforms
No,
coming
no. Why
up?
should I be against such platforms? I think it's great. I think movies showing documentaries, Amazon or Netflix are showing documentaries. I think it's great. The more people, the more platforms there are. I think it's easier for feature filmmakers also. Certainly, I'm not opposed to them at all, but I still think they're not supporting the making of documentaries. They're buying documentaries. They're acquiring what has already been made. But there's, to go back to your earlier question, there isn't enough support to make documentaries, and I think that is where we really need help, because unless you have a proper budget, you can't support yourself to the whole process of research, filming over a long period of time. I've been watching some films, and I think it really suffers when, because of budget constraints, really, you can see filmmakers are being forced to shoot just over 3-4 months, whereas actually it would help if you could shoot for longer periods. It would help if you could edit for longer periods, but you need to pay yourself for that work and that time. So funding is critical.
Funding is a very critical element, and government of Kerala, by this festival, actually is trying to give a platform for youngsters to come and make films, to express such filming expressions, giving a platform for that. And we are also making a documentary list of documentary filmmakers, accredited list, and trying to find some funding through our Medium at Academy. We'll pursue this at the government level to get more funding. We will try for that.
I mean, I think the festival serves a great purpose in distribute or exhibiting films and introducing the medium to young people. So you're developing an audience, which is great. You're also developing a great, an increasing interest on the part of young people. But yeah, funding is equally important.
And for IFFK also, for Malayalam films, actually for non-release films during the COVID period, we have given some financial assistance for that. Selected 14 movies, we have given some financial assistance. Mostly independent movie makers get benefit out of that. Such things are happening here. So we will try to move ahead and do such some assistance, some funding opportunities for filmmakers. I can assure you.
Thank you.
And regarding the presence of women in films, in the technical area of films, technicians, more women technicians in the films, we still have a scant presence. Maybe as actors, we have enough roles. Women-centric movies are coming up. But as regards to technicians, women technicians in films, we are not able to move in Malayalam film industry also. And as we take a pan-Indian scene also, very scant presence of women technicians. How can we overcome the situation?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
But just about rhetoric. And there are some mainly women groups coming, and they are coming with suggestions. They're trying for opportunities, helping each other. But some plans whether we can propose with your experience, long experience, and getting a lifetime achievement.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm really not sure, because there are girls who come for interviews to the Film Institute. First of all, the number of applications has gone down, and nobody has been able to understand why. I mean, there was a time in the 80s when there were a lot of girls applying, but now the numbers have significantly reduced, and nobody knows why. But even so, even when girls come to the to the FTI, for instance, for their interviews, they give the exam, they give the interview, they clear the interview, and then they refuse to join. They opt out. So what is it that happens? I'm really not sure. I haven't understood. But it is a problem. It is a problem, and I think it's a problem because we don't have enough faculty, also enough women who are teaching camera or sound or editing. So all these institutes are very male spaces. I think girls who come for the exam don't see enough women faculty, possibly. I think women technicians are not very visible, not written about enough. Mm, so maybe that makes women apprehensive, young women apprehensive about the profession they're getting into. I'm not sure really, but it is a matter of concern. Yeah.
Maybe this not a secured profession or the career progression is also a big question for women. So though maybe they are opting for some other opportunities, but academy has now just chalked out a plan for training group of women in technical areas of films.
Okay.
Just,
How does that go?
we are just checked out a plan for that with Women Development Corporation and Kudumbashri. We will get self-help group out of them and try to give some training, hands-on training into various professions. We are trying for a unit, different units of women groups, and give them training with experts like you coming and training them in the profession, maybe editing, then camera, and even we are planning a light unit, a women light unit, so that they can work, and we will try to give them some opportunities with talking with the trade bodies like FFK and MACA and all that. So that's a plan we are just
Yeah.
moving ahead with.
No, if it works, it's great. I mean, you look at Khabar Lahariya. It's not that women can't handle technology. A lot of the women in Khabar Lahariya are the journalists. This is grassroots journalism. They are not even fully educated. You know, they're Dalit women. They're at the bottom of the social ladder. They have not had access to education, but they handle shooting on mobile phones. They upload, they edit, they do that. So it's not that it's not possible, but I don't know why it's not. I really don't know why it's not happening in film schools, for instance.
So coming back to your career, your exposure and experience with the likes of Mani Kauli, Mati Manas, and editing and all that, and you have written about that also for the viewers. Just share that experience.
Okay, so in fact, Mati Manas is showing in this festival,
Yeah.
and I'd like people to watch it. It's really the first film I edited. Mani had seen a diploma film that I had edited, Venu's diploma film.
Yeah.
He's a well-known cinematographer director here. He liked it, and he called me up and asked me to edit his upcoming film, which was Marty Manas, and he asked Venu to shoot that. And so for me, it was like I was on top of the world. Really, it was like I'd always looked up to Mani. I'd admired his filmmaking, and so I chose to assist him on the 40 days of the shooting schedule because I wanted to understand and slowly, get into the film and absorb how he approached, how he was approaching the film. And then we started editing, and yeah, I remember the first week was very. Mani would say, "So what should we do?" And I'd say, "Whatever you like." Which sequence should we work on? He'd say, and I'd say, "Whatever you like, whatever." But at some point, I think second or third day, he just said, he says, I'm not asking you to edit the film because I'm going to tell you what to do. It has to be an equal relationship. I want your opinion and I want you to say. So even when we were putting together a sequence, it would be really like, should we join this shot with this shot? No, it doesn't work. I felt free to say what I felt. And no, I think we should move to that shot and maybe try this and whatever. And I think for the first time, that really wasn't the way we were taught editing in the institute. It was really like the director was the boss, and we didn't do documentary editing as such, anyways. And you were given a script and you followed, whatever. So this was my first real documentary experience outside, and also working with someone who gave you, who sort of almost thrust that confidence and responsibility on you and said, you're working with me, we're collaborating together and creating this. And so that was fantastic, because he really opened up what the role of an editor can be, is. And yeah, I think that's where I got the confidence uh, to look at something analytically, to not always wait for the director to give instructions or tell me what he was thinking. I mean, he will tell me what he's thinking, but I have my own mind processing the material, and I'm able to also say, no, I don't think this is working like this, etc., etc. So I really learned a lot about rhythm, pace from Mani. Um, a lot, yeah.
So this creative freedom is also very important, even though this is a very coordinated act with the director of the film. But since the change of technology, uh, how did this help as an editor, a transformation of an editor? With the advent of the technology, you have to move. So how this technological changes help in the editing?
Well, for one, when we were working on celluloid and we were working on Steenbecks, it was non-linear. So you could do a sequence, put it away in the in the can, and then start another sequence, and then join all the sequences together. So it was non-linear, and it was very like the way it is now. It was wonderful. But then you got into Betacam and U-matic, and it was all linear. And I remember doing documentaries where, with each stage, you're using the previous tape and changing the cut. So by the time you actually reach the fine cut, you can't even see anything, because it's just generations down. And then you would master it and replace the video, etc. So so I think it was very frustrating. The years in between Betacam, U-matic, whatever, DVCam, was just hugely frustrating. To be in a linear, you have to know what your beginning is, and if you want to change your mind, you change the tape, you change it's another generation down, whatever. But now, um, it it's wonderful again, because we're back to that non-linear system. The only thing is that, when you're on celluloid, because of the process itself, you had to wind a reel. um, you took time, you marked, you cut, you spliced, you had time to think. You weren't working so fast. Whereas now, I think you're expected to work really fast. And I like watching my material. I don't even like having assistants anymore, because they just don't understand why you're watching a sequence again and again. But I just like to watch something, and I don't want to explain why I'm watching it. I'm not sure why I'm watching it, but I'm watching it. I'm looking for cues, like what is it in this sequence that's important, or why do I want to, how do I want to cut it, or why should I cut it like this, or whatever. And I think, yeah, I think the now you're really expected to be very sure, and to say you're not sure seems a bit shocking to people. It's, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's also easier. You don't go to a studio, you're not paying an arm and a leg, you're editing on your laptop. But so they, yeah, the pluses and minuses, yeah. But it is back to non-linear, so that's fine.
When it comes to when you're working with another generation, youngsters, young filmmakers, even you got opportunity to work with them, uh, what change you feel in the new generation, uh, the narratives, the new contents coming up, and what is your feeling regarding the new? youngsters?
I think they're very confident. It's wonderful. They're so confident. That's the most, that's the one thing that really strikes me about younger filmmakers and technicians. It's not a confidence which is born out of arrogance, but they're just so comfortable with the equipment, with technology, with changes in technology, with everything. And they're also very quick to adapt many things in the form, which I think we were very timid about. We were very classicist in our approach. I don't think the younger generation's like that. I mean, many are not, and that's what's wonderful. I think they're far more experimental than we were, and just yeah, pick up the camera, go shoot. There's because again we're on in the digital world, so they're comfortable with being this and this and that. And I think there's so much that can be saved in post, so that also gives you the confidence to maybe shoot a little roughly or not worry so much about knowing your equipment well, which, in my time when I started out, you had to know the camera. You wouldn't want to touch the camera. You had to know an exposure meter. You wouldn't, none of that exists. You put something on auto mode if you have a problem, and you just. So Nirmal and I shot Dreaming Taj Mahal, and that was an auto mode. And I couldn't have done it if it was celluloid. No way. It's just, and I think that's what the younger generation's so free with. Yeah. The tools and even their ideas. Yeah.
You have been part of many documentaries as an editor. You have done more than 10 documentaries, I suppose.
No. As an editor, I've edited more than 50 documentaries.
More than 50 documentaries.
I've directed 10.
Yeah. And then you've got many awards, many accolades. And which work is very close to your heart?
I won't say that. I can't. I won't. I mean, I love Marty Manas. It's my first film. And like I said, I just learned so much about approaching material freshly, not to be attached to the way you've constructed the scene. I mean, we would edit a sequence and 3 weeks later come back to it and Manit say, ye to bilkul bakwas hai, isko fir se badalte hain, And that's what happened with In the Forest Hangs a Bridge, which is also showing at this festival. So we'd edited the film. So that's another thing I like to do is to edit, to reach it to a rough cut, a presentable rough cut, and then you show it to the producers or whatever for them to approve. And then so that automatically gives you some time before you do the fine cut. And there's a little detachment that occurs in that break. So when so the producers for In the Forest Hangs a Bridge had said, yeah, it's fine, go ahead, lock it, finish the film. But I'd had a break. I'd had a some weeks break, and I came back and I just said, no, Sanjay, this is just not working, and we've got to re-edit it. And I have to say, he just said, okay, it's up to you. You want to redo it, redo it. So he didn't argue, he didn't question me. And another director who I really enjoy working with, so it's not so much the film as the directors, is Rahul Roy, because I think the first film that I worked with him, he was very much there. He would shoot what we'd edited at the end of the day and take it back home and watch it, and all of that. I was saying, it's going to change, Rahul. Why are you even doing this? But so there was a certain amount of control that was there. But from the second film on, he's never there. We watch the material, we talk, we'll watch the rushes for a sequence. But I just say I want to be left alone. And that's what I like best. I don't think I have I definitely don't have favorite films in that sense. But I have favorite directors, and I think they're really the ones, Priya Thuvasari, Nirmal, um, Rahul, who just let me be and let me construct the film on my own, which I love that. Yeah.
Uh, Regarding film festivals, you have been part of film festivals as a jurist, as a curator, maybe programming for festivals and all. And now that we have these OTT platforms and all, you get the content at your command, and even laymen used to know about the best films coming out of the world. And what will be the fate of film festivals for future, or how should it
Oh,
be?
they'll be there. I mean, this is irreplaceable. You have a screening. You talk to a filmmaker. You sit outside. You have chai, coffee. You continue a conversation. Debates. You can't beat a film festival. I mean, watching a film festival is not watching a film. It's an exchange of ideas. It's discussions. It's camaraderie. It's discovering friendships. It's many things. uh, just engaging in dialogue, really. So I don't think an OTT platform is providing you that. So there's no way. I don't think a film festival is going to go. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm just taking a positive note out of you. eh? And
Why do you think it's?
definitely, actually, this festival for Kerala, for other places, being in a post-COVID era, we have seen many festivals stop getting into action in the festival circuit. But in Kerala, uh, on the 25th festival we did during the COVID period, and this 26th festival also happened. And this is one of the most people centric festival. We have some 13,000 delegates assembled in Trivandrum for the IFFK. For Kerala, this is a great congregation for us, and we are taking this IDSFFK also to new heights. And probably this is also a very growing festival. Now we have 1,200 to 1,500 delegates, and now this festival itself, 250 filmmakers are representing this film. For Kerala, I am telling you, film festival will be a great affair and will remain people centric. So
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Yeah, the idea is I don't think people want to be just sitting at home and watching a film, in isolation. You want to get out. You want to engage with ideas, really. That's what a festival is about.
so that such a positive note, I just want to share the mic with the dice. If you have some questions, please.
Ma'am, how exactly do you talk to people who are reluctant to talk to you? How do you capture them? Camera shy people, etc.
So I faced that situation in Skin Deep. I mean, otherwise, so when you're researching for a film, it's not like you just start filming. I mean, this is not television, right? It's a documentary. So there's a process of research and identifying characters and who you want to film with. So you do sense that the person wants to communicate. You ask them if they agree to appear in a film. There is consent before you start. But even so, when I started shooting Skin Deep, on the first day of filming in Pune, the character that I had to film just said she didn't want to be filmed. And I asked her why, and she said, I don't want to see myself 5 years later saying what I want to say to you. And the Skin Deep is about body image and self identity. So it had a lot to do with women feeling vulnerable at a certain point in their lives, and she was right. I mean, the film would capture her feeling low or unsure of herself, and she would be stuck with that. She would have to live with that. So it was. I stopped filming, of course. I mean, I didn't even start. We took a break and we went back. I went back to Delhi. The crew dispersed, and I rethought the film, and I then decided to fictionalize the 6 characters that I wanted to film with. And I had different women, sometimes those very women, but it was, they were playing a part. We wrote lines. So instead of having, let's say, 4 fat women, what the kind of points they had raised and uh, the conversation that had emerged, I clubbed them together. I decided to have one woman express many aspects to feeling fat. And so I could expand the narrative. I gave people lines. I could also sort of then freely tell them what to say because I wanted this character to raise this question, this questions, this sort of thing. So it really freed me. It created a different form. I was heavily criticized for that film because it was like, this is not documentary. You've got actresses, you've got actors. People are acting. How is this a documentary? And but yeah, I mean, I faced that situation once. Otherwise, I think if people are shy, I mean, like you want to shoot with them, but they're shy or they're reluctant, you have to give them that space. You talk about something else. I mean, in any case, when I'm interviewing somebody, I never come to the point of what the interview is about. There's always a little warming up, and then just sort of. I'm very nervous in front of the camera, so I can completely understand when somebody else is. So I just chat, get them relaxed, and then, so, yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am. Yes, my question was sort of tangential to what the previous question was. In many cases, you might be interviewing someone, or you might want a subject whose ideas may not be the most flattering for the subject matter. It might show them as regressive. It might not show them in the most positive light, right? So, in such situations, do you generally advise, like, an ethical dilemma often arises where I wonder, should I tell them that, how they're going to be portrayed with these ideas and might not be the most positive one, a positive light, but then they might just back out of it. I often find myself wondering sort of how to go ahead in these sort of situations. So I was just wondering if you had any sort of
Okay,
method to
so
go around.
yeah, so it's different if they're going to be just a part of a just a small part of a larger film, like this conversation that we had in the kitchen, where this brother says that now that my sister's a bodybuilder, it's okay, but if my girlfriend were to be, I wouldn't like that, and then he spells out what he wants his girlfriend to be. So I'm not being critical. I'm not being critical in the film also. Uh, I'm not a very judgmental person, and I don't think my films communicate judgment. It's more exploration, and I'm quite comfortable with people saying all sorts of things to me, uh, and I'm not judging them for it. Um, and I think when people entrust you with something like that, like revealing something of themselves, I think it's a position of responsibility. You have to be empathetic. You're not. But if the person is your main character, and if that's your protagonist, and he or she is saying something that, um, so you have to see whether it's going to go against the point you want to make in the film, if there's a point you want to make, or is it going to go against them? Is the audience going to be turned against them? And is this a twist? Is this something you want to show at the end of the film, that, oh, you think this person is like this, but now he's like this, and it's a twist. So you have to see what is the film about, and what is that not so nice thing that they're revealing about themselves. What is it there for? Just that they've said it doesn't mean you use it. Because you're constructing the film at the editing stage, right? So you have to see Is it working to your advantage because there's something else that you want to say, or is it just going to backfire? You have to examine. Um, like I said, is it just a tiny part? Like, is it 2 minutes in an 82-minute film? Or is it something may not be so shocking, really, but this is really what most people feel, so it's not shocking. You have to see what exactly is being disclosed, and what is the what are you going to make of it in the structure finally. So I think it depends from film to film and statement to statement, and
I I had a question about Kamala Bai. I think in the movie somewhere you mentioned that she's living alone at her advanced age. I was just curious to know why you didn't cover up that aspect of the movie. Despite having
there's
a
a
large
title
family.
card. Yeah, there's a title card at the beginning, and it says she lives alone in Pune.
Yeah.
And then you just see her all by herself through the film. So, what else? How else do I communicate that? The only time you see a family is there's just one shot where they're all posing for that photograph, like where her son starts talking, and then she's sleeping, and her great granddaughters are singing and dancing, and that's it. It's almost like a dream that those two girls. But the rest of the time, you don't see anybody else. So, a comment as in explain that she's living alone, or to comment
No.
on her living alone.
No, the question is
I'm
at her
sorry.
advanced age, why is she living alone? She should be with some of her children, right?
She was very happy.
She was happy being
Yeah,
independent.
she was
Okay.
very happy.
Okay.
And she lived on a farm initially, and she had that accident where she lost her leg, and it took a long time to reach Pune and get medical attention, which is why that leg had to be amputated. So she really felt that she would be better off in Pune. And this flat belongs to her grandson, Vikram. And so she's not alone. The neighbors are there. They keep an eye on her. They kept an eye on her. In fact, they used to lock the door from outside and at night, so that nobody else would and anyone who wanted to enter had to go via the neighbors. They would cross question you as to why you were there. So in terms of safety, there was plenty of that. There's a watchman at the building, and Chandrakant was a well-known actor, so he used to come to Pune once every 10 days for a show or something. And he and his wife would stay there for some time till the shows were on. So she was alone, and yet not neglected.
Okay.
Yeah, not at all.
Thank you.
One more question, sir, please. Yeah.
Please.
Actually, two things are there, ma'am. First, a comment on, we are so happy to have seen you, especially being a woman who is pursuing to be a filmmaker someday. Seeing you there and, experiencing your documentaries are such a delight. And so thank you and grateful that you started making films. It's a hope.
Thank you.
And the question is on the documentary which was on the Express Highway. There is this shot where this train is passing, and you are just narrating a sentence that when I'm seeing all these things, it's actually affecting me as a person spiritually, and you're actually asking yourself, I guess, that then what is the whole point of making all this? Somewhere you are actually saying that in that narration, and from there to this point where you have achieved so much, you have made so many films. What I want to ask you is that have you found that answer? Like, what drives you to be a filmmaker, to tell stories, to touch people's lives through this way? I mean, have you found that spiritual answer? That's my question.
So the question I'm asking is not what is the point of making films, But what is the point of this life, really, of this existence, of a material existence, or existence in the material world? So that is the question. I don't think I've ever. Um, I mean, as a student, I remember wondering because a lot of our education at that time had to do with the Bombay industry. So we would edit songs and chase sequences and so on. And I was really like, am I going to do this for my life? But I think once I graduated and I moved towards documentary filmmaking, I don't think I've ever questioned what I do, because I've also traveled a lot with my films, and I think most filmmakers do that. But in the early days, certainly we did that a lot. Um, we'd make films and we'd spend a lot of time going. I mean, I would show to small women's groups and villages and all of that. And, you can see the kind of impact it's having. So I've never questioned the work I do. And Skin Deep, for instance, I've shown a lot in colleges, and I mean, girls have broken down and talked about themselves. And yeah, I think never, no, not once I became a documentary filmmaker. No, I've never had questions about that.
Thank you, ma'am. We are so glad.
So 1 hour has almost gone in a flash and so fast. We have to wind up this session. It happened so because we were not talking to a filmmaker. We felt it like we are talking to a friend or a family member. Reena Mohan, very many thanks for being a chief guest of this IDSFK and sharing some time with us with
Thank
your
you so much.
ideas and opinions. And continue your good work and come back to our festival as many times you want. Thank you.
Thank you
all.
so much. Thank you.